Okay, we're back.
We here.
The most infamous podcast on planet Earth.
Word is bonded.
Super duty tough work. You know, we're just trying to provide value. And today we're going to talk about something that people ask me about all the time, which is being self-employed. And so what I want to talk about today is kind of go through 10 lessons that I have learned from being self-employed. These lessons vary. You know, some are straightforward. Some are things I learned, you know, before I even got started. But these are lessons that if you are considering being self-employed, or if you've always wanted to know what it's like, these lessons are meant to kind of let you know the real.
Yeah. Because a lot of people just think like, oh, you kick it, you do what you want. It ain't work. You know what I mean? Nah, bruh.
It's not even like that.
Nah, when I was self-employed, it was fucking hard fucking work.
Yeah. It's
hard
like
work.
Like people think that they can become self-employed and then that means you don't have to work as hard.
Yeah, they chill.
I work for myself, so I don't have to work as hard. No, actually, you're going to work more.
Harder.
Yeah.
Much, much harder.
The only difference is you get to do what you love.
Right.
Right. So in this episode, that's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about, you know, the 10 lessons of self-employment that I've learned over the last, this is year number 17. Crazy. 17 years of self-employment. And we're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Right.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and want to grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping the culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against a team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut, adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
All right.
Word.
We back. The most infamous podcast on planet Earth. Super duty tough work. This week we're talking about self-employment. Something both of us have done. You have done it. You were doing it before me, actually. And it's something that, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And we want to get real with everybody this week.
Very, very real.
And the number one, and I've got 10 of these, so I'm going to start with number one. The number one lesson I've learned from self-employment is that scheduling is everything. It's everything.
Or else you won't get nothing done.
Come on. I remember before I was self-employed, there was a guy who used to master our records in Cincinnati. His name was Todd Buck. And he had a home recording studio a couple blocks away from me when I was on my West Side apartment. And he was employed at the time, so was I, but he was about to make the he had just made the transition into running a studio full time. And so he was doing, he did mastering for us. We did mixing and everything. He did live shit for everybody as well. And then by the end of my time there, he had moved into a bigger studio, big, nice space. But I remember talking to him when I was considering being a full-time artist. And I said, what advice would you give me? Because I'm considering the same thing, because some things are starting to take off here. And he said, the biggest advice to you, I would give to you, is to understand that the biggest difference between being self-employed and unemployed is what you decide to do every day. I'll never forget that. The biggest difference between being self-employed and unemployed is what you decide to do with your day. That means that if you call yourself self-employed and you're not doing shit, you're unemployed.
So real.
You're not making anything. You're no different than the people who sit around making no money claiming to be something that they're not. I don't care how much you say you're capable of, but if you're doing nothing, you're basically unemployed, even if you claim to be self-employed.
End of the episode. I mean, that's
Good night, folks.
That's it. That's all
We
we
outta
need.
here.
That's all we need.
Peace.
If you ain't doing shit, you unemployed. That's so real.
It's the only difference, man.
Yeah.
That was look, he told me this in 2000. To this day,
Yeah.
I have never forgot that.
Cause it's real. It's just like when we would be out on tour and we'd have days off. Just like we ain't on vacation. We supposed to be working.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Thank you.
It felt wrong to have a day off, even though, back-to-back days sometimes would kick our ass. But just having a day off would always feel like we should be doing something. So I always tried to like write a rhyme or do something.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in school, I was doing schoolwork. So I felt like I was busy. I was doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like or we was on vacation. We was unemployed on those
Bruh.
days.
Exactly.
was
Unemployed.
spending money.
We was spending money, right? Because when you're on tour and you're not making money and you have a day off, you have to spend money to be there.
Yeah.
You still got to pay for the hotel.
Yep.
You still got to pay for gas, food, everything else, except you're not making money.
Mm-hmm.
That dynamic is the exact same thing that's in play when you're self-employed. Yeah, I have more time to work on my art, but don't get it fucked up. If I don't get up and work from the time I wake up until my work is done, there's no 8 to 5.
Right.
You work until the shit is done.
Right.
Then I am basically unemployed and I'm not making shit. That goes counter to what a lot of people think about self-employment. A lot of people think that when you're self-employed, you get to pick and choose when you work. You get to set your own schedule or have no schedule at all, and that you'll still get a check, which is because they're coming from the workspace.
Right.
Whereas all you have to do is show up.
Yeah.
You show up at your job. You don't have to do a great job every day.
You don't have to do a job every day.
Right.
You don't have to go in and actually work. If you can fake the funk
You
for
can.
8 hours.
You can fake it. There is no faking it when you're self-employed.
None.
And so the most important thing is like you have to set a schedule. Your schedule determines what you do that day, and what you do determines how much you make, be it that day, that month, that quarter, that year.
Yeah.
So for me, some people ask me, they say, well, how far in advance do you typically plan for your releases?
Probably a year at least.
You already know, at least. And I'll tell them, well, typically at least 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, when did I say, well, Respect the Architect, it came out in 2014, but that was being planned in 2013. And, Kingdom Crown was being planned in 2012, 2011. And I'm always a year to 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
And the reason I am is because of that lesson he taught me about if you're not scheduling, if you're not doing anything, then you're unemployed. And I can tell you that, like, it's okay to not make any money at certain points if you're unemployed, because I'm self-employed because you don't make money every day. Right. I'm no different than anyone else. It's
Everybody got to have a day off.
Right. Everyone has days off. You don't make money every day. You don't bust your ass and hustle and stay up till 4 a.m. every night. That's not healthy.
Right.
But I tell you one thing, there's no worse feeling than knowing that you're not making shit, but you didn't try. That shit feels bad, because you realize you had all this time, all these days that went by, and you didn't maximize it. And that shit will fuck you up, especially when the bills are still due.
Right.
Expenses are still there. And your ass just sat there kicking it, partying, doing whatever, just because you felt like, oh, well, I'm self-employed, or when I become self-employed, I won't have to keep a schedule. Don't get it fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's work. It's real work.
It's work. That's lesson number 1, man. And, hey, we can end the episode on that one.
Yeah.
That's a showstopper right there.
Is.
Okay, we're going to go on number 2. Number 2, biggest lesson I've learned from being self-employed is that multiple income streams is a must.
You have to.
Like, most people who work in a corporate setting or in a regular job setting, when you really think about it, you only have one source of income. You have one boss. That one boss decides your You know what I'm saying? Like how high you ascend in that company, or they can decide if they don't like you that you could be out of there, right? So typically you have one person you really got to keep happy to keep getting your one check every week, month, whatever.
Right.
This is completely opposite than being self-employed. When you're self-employed, you don't have one boss, you have customers.
Right.
And because you have customers, you have thousands of customers who buy a product or service from you. And that is a way different thing than the one person who has one stream of income. And so the best way to survive as a self-employed person is not to just follow the same model that the employed person does, because there's risk in that.
Lots.
Right? Like if one customer doesn't like my product or service, they just won't buy it again.
Yeah.
If your boss doesn't like your job, you get fired and they replace you. That's way more dangerous to me. So what you have to do as a self-employed person that I've learned over the years is to open yourself up to creating, cultivating, and maintaining multiple sources of income. And so for me as an artist, that could be, when I tour, that's one source of income, right? I sell music on my website. That's a source of income. I can sell beats. I can sell features. I can sell consulting. I can sell anything that comes with that. I sell books. These are distinct things from doing the movie to doing screenings. Each of those is a different source of income. Some go on all the time. I have obviously the normal stuff artists have, like royalties, publishing,
Right.
ASCAP checks, things from labels, whatever. But overall, the message that I want to stress to people is that if you're not prepared to cultivate and maintain multiple streams of income, you will not be successful as an independent artist.
I mean, shit, even me as a working person, I have multiple streams of income.
Most people should, but
most
they
people
don't.
should. There's no way that you should really ever put all your eggs in one basket. You should always have multiple ways to make money in your life, whether you have a regular job or you're self-employed. If you're self-employed, then, even the most famous actors have multiple, they do movies, they do television, they do commercials, they do, whatever. Voiceovers, all that stuff. They have multiple streams of income. How many shows has Steve Harvey hosted? How many shows does he host on a regular basis?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even
true.
Ellen has multiple shows that she hosts. All these people do multiple things. Dr. Phil writes books, does speakings, all the,
Right.
Even famous people. If it's good enough for them,
It should be good enough for you.
it should be good enough for you.
Yeah. And that's something I need people to understand, because sometimes people will speak to me about being self-employed and I don't think they truly grasp the concept. Right? Like they think that it's no different than just having one boss doing one thing every day.
No.
If I'm a full-time rapper, I just wake up and write raps every day. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Unemployed.
Yes. Refer back to lesson number 1. You'll be unemployed like a motherfucker if you think that that's all you got to do every day. So that's lesson number 2.
Yeah.
Cool. So lesson number 3 of being self-employed. And this is one that I've learned that I try to explain to people as well. And lesson number 3 is that there are no checks and balances. So when you work in corporate America, and this is something I remember vividly, if I needed something from someone in a different department or in the same department, but who had a different manager, I could go straight to that person and say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z report from you for this project I'm working on. And that person would either do it or they wouldn't. If they did it, cool. I get it. I go about my business and I'm fine. If they didn't do it, I had the option
To go to their manager.
Go to their superior and say, hey, I've requested this report from this person you sent me to, but I haven't heard anything back. Could you reach out to them? And their manager would reach out to them and say, hey, Al's waiting on this report from you. Could you send that to him? He needs it for X, Y, and Z. They say, okay, cool. Now, they didn't do it when you asked for it.
Right.
But when their boss asked for it, they did it. That's how corporate America works.
Right.
That's not how self-employment works.
Hell no.
There are no checks and balances out here. No one is responsible to anybody out here.
Nah.
And that creates a whole different dynamic. So let's just say you play a show somewhere and that promoter doesn't pay you.
Yep.
Who you gonna come call to get your money back from him? His mama?
Nobody.
His girlfriend?
I had to put him in a back room.
Right. You're gonna put him in the corner and say, hey man, I really need that money, man. I can't let you leave without paying me.
It's about to go down.
Yeah, we gotta go to an ATM. There are no checks and balances. If someone doesn't book you for a show, who are you gonna cry to?
Yeah.
If someone doesn't give you a good review, who are you gonna cry to?
Yeah.
If someone writes something inaccurate about you or a lie about you, how are you going to reconcile that when there are no real checks and balances out here?
Yeah. If they don't buy your record, what you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And when you realize this, I remember I realized this like on my first tour with Atmosphere. I remember I was backstage in Phoenix one day. I mean, I peeped it, but when I was backstage in Phoenix, we had like this backstage and just like the promoter had mad random people backstage.
Mm-hmm.
They was drinking all the drinks, smoking all they smoke. They had our backstage so uncomfortable, we didn't want to be back there.
Yeah.
I walked back there and it was my first time seeing this. I was just like, yo. I remember getting on this. I walked in the room and I stood on the chair and said, what the fuck are y'all doing? Who are you people?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you back here eating all this shit and drinking everything? This isn't yours. And they just looked at me. They felt a little awkward and they kept on doing.
Going. Like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So who are you?
Who you gonna call?
Thank you.
You gonna call the police?
You gonna call the police?
Yeah.
Or you gonna call the club promoter? The promoter had other shit to do.
Right.
Our tour manager had other shit to do. I could go tell him and he could go yell at him. And maybe ultimately we got them out of there. But the thing you got to realize is that when it comes to being self-employed, people don't have like that chain of command that we think should exist in independent shit. It's no chain of command. It's basically like, I will do what you want me to do as long as it's in my best interest.
That is so true.
It has nothing to do with a person's responsibilities as much as it has to do with them and their self-interest.
Mm-hmm.
And until you grasp that, you're going to have some fucked up interactions as an independent artist.
Straight up.
It's deep, man.
It's real deep.
You know?
Been there, done that, seen it.
Yeah, man. So that's number 3.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take a break. Super Duty Tough Work hoodies are finally available from weightless.net. Order yours while supplies last. Thanks for your support.
Word.
Short breaks and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
We doing that this week. So yeah, lessons from being self-employed. We hit you with 3. We got another 7 to go. Number 4. And this is kind of a follow-up on the last one, where I said people who you need to do something for you, they will typically only do something that's in their self-interest. But I'm going to take that a step further for this next lesson. The 4th lesson is that value forms relationships.
And gotta say that one again.
Value forms relationships.
So real.
Not obligations.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that your value to a promoter is what makes them book you. Your value to a venue is what makes them not let the people backstage.
Right.
Your value to the press is what makes them not write bullshit about you. They may need you for something else. Your value to your scene, to those around you, is what determines how you are treated. This is completely different than corporate America. Meaning, so in self-employment, it's like if we can make money together,
Yeah, we good.
we good.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about you really.
Right.
But let's get this fucking money and we straight.
Mm-hmm.
I'll treat you right as long as you treat me right and we can keep getting money.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work like that in corporate America because I'm not directly giving you money.
Yeah.
You get paid regardless.
Yeah. So you're expendable.
You're expendable.
I can replace you and pay somebody else.
Right. Yo, it's deep, man. And people get it fucked up because I see people do it all the time. Like if I look at like my Facebook feed and some of the things that local artists are saying about getting mistreated or something like that by venues. And we've been doing shows in this city for a long time.
Yeah.
And we don't have a lot of stories like that.
No.
We have very few stories about venues mistreating us. And the reason, or promoters here mistreating us. And the reason we don't is because we operate from the value paradigm.
Yeah.
Not the obligation paradigm. Right. Ain't no you owe me. Ain't no I'm dope and I deserve.
Right.
It's like, no, I'm basically here because I have value to you. Mm-hmm. And as long as I have value to you, then you are forced to treat me with respect.
Right.
And that shit is deep.
Because you're going to lose money if you don't.
Exactly.
Because the fact that we making money now, if you don't treat me right, then I won't make money with you anymore, but I'll continue to make money.
Straight up.
You know?
Straight up. So let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. What up, everybody? Blueprint here to let you guys know that all 3 of my books are finally back in stock. That means right here, What a Night. This book is back in stock. It's $10. This is a book about the worst shows in my career. That's 10. Word is Blog Volume 1 is back in stock. That's $10. And also, The Making of Adventures in Counterculture. This book is about my Adventures in Counterculture album. If you have the album, you love the album, you should have a book too. That's $10. All 3 of these books are back in stock for $10 each, or you can get all 3 of them for just $25 right now on waitlist.net. That's all I got today. Thanks for your support. Peace. Okay.
Back into place.
Man, catastrophe.
Hey.
Averted.
Hey.
Situations.
New things we got to worry about.
So yeah, that was what, number 4?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Back in the building. Number 5, lesson of being self-employed. Sometimes people don't take you seriously.
Yeah, you got to deal with it.
One of the things I see people take extreme offense to is when they're self-employed and people will just say something like, oh, you can do that anytime.
Right.
Oh man, you just sit around all day. I mean, you ain't got a real job.
What you mean you can't? You don't got time?
Yeah, when you gonna get a real job?
I was dealing with that with family. Dog.
Like, oh, you still doing that thing, the music thing?
Yeah, you still doing the music? Oh, are you still doing the music thing?
When you gonna get a real job? Yeah, I mean, whenever you ready to get a real job, let me know, man.
Yeah, I know some people.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, I'll hook you up.
Yeah. And I don't think people really mean it or know that they're being that insulting when they say it, but most people will insult you. Like there's people, even the people who know you're working but call you
right
like you don't have a real job.
Yeah.
Like that this motherfucker is writing from 6 to 8 on Saturday nights every week, right? 6:30. Hey, Jawar, man, what you doing, dog, man? Yeah, man.
You wanna go out? You wanna go
Come
do
on,
something?
kick it with me, man. Man, I write from 6 to 8 every Saturday. I ain't got this much. I can't. Oh, come on, man. You can do that anytime. You just writing. It's just raps. You can do that anytime. Ain't no real job, man. A real job is 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, not Saturday night. In their minds, that's what they think. And that leads a lot of people, especially the people close to you, to kind of insulting you about what you do. Be prepared for that.
Yeah.
People tend to think that if you don't have to work for someone else,
you ain't working.
Yeah. Or if you don't have to leave your house,
you ain't working. I had to straighten out some family before, like, that told me, like, yo, when you gonna find a real job? I think I was in a bad mood too. Something happened.
Cuss somebody out.
Something happened. I don't know if I cussed them out, but I was like, well, my fake job is paying my rent.
Right.
My wife don't work. You know what I'm saying? And we pay. Everything is paid. I ain't asked you for no money.
Yeah, that's real.
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
Real.
So yeah,
this imaginary job is making me real money.
Right.
Yeah, I think when I first started doing this full time, I think my mom was naturally skeptical.
Of course, parents do that.
Because my mom was one of them going down to the post office, get you a real job kind of moms, And I started doing this. I think everything was just like, you sure? Why would you quit? You got a career. And
you got a good job.
Got a good job. Why would you quit to do that? And I think but within the first year, I think she saw that nothing fell off.
Right.
In fact, certain things got easier.
Yeah.
I had more freedom with my time, freedom with my schedule, freedom with my location.
Yeah.
And I was able to help her just as much, if not more, than I did when I had the regular job.
You bought a house from her.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Which I wasn't doing when I was working.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And you probably wouldn't have done.
Wouldn't have been able to do.
Mm-mm.
Wouldn't have been able to do. Wouldn't have never been had that lump sum of money sitting there to do that thing. And that's when it was like, oh yeah, you good. I ain't gonna ask you no more questions about you being self-employed.
I feel that.
And I think sometimes the people around us, they have these questions, but we have to kind of answer them in these kind of subconscious ways, or else you end up checking a fool like you did, because it's offensive.
Right.
Like people have said, so even now people say offensive things to me, like, yeah, you know, when you gonna be done doing the rap thing? You know what I mean?
Like, oh, you still rapping? Like, it's like it's bad. Like, it's sad that you still rapping.
Yeah. And I'm just sitting there like, yo, man, I make twice what you make every year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or when was the last time you got to just drop everything and drive across the country and visit your family? Or you don't have the freedom I have. You need to be trying to be like me.
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah, like since I've been doing this for 17 years, you went through 17 jobs. Mm-hmm. You change jobs every year. I'm the only motherfucker in this conversation with job security.
True.
You know?
True.
But it's hard having those conversations with people, but you have to have them. Yeah. There's no way around it because you stick out like a sore thumb. Mm-hmm. And the longer you do it, you know, the less questions there will be, but there will always be people who misunderstand what being self-employed is all about.
Yeah, because especially if you run into people that you may have grew up with, or that knew you when you first started rapping, or you first started doing whatever your self-employed job is. They're like, oh, you still doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, you still, oh, how is it? Oh, like, yeah, you know how much I made last year?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I
wasn't making this hanging out with you.
Right. You know, I paid cash for this car. Bro.
Right. I don't have no car now.
Right.
I don't have no mortgage. But you can't throw it in their face like that because you look like an asshole.
You look like an asshole.
And so you just got to stay humble and just be on the low with it, because you know you're doing the right thing. And if it's working, then it's working. And it's also important to make sure you have a standard set. Mm-hmm. So like, don't think that you want to be self-employed just to say you're self-employed.
Right.
Have some measurable things that determine your success. Right. Like you're saying, yeah, if all my utilities are paid and all my bills are paid and my wife ain't got to work,
right,
what the fuck are you tripping about?
Yeah, and I still got money.
Yeah, that's the criteria for me getting a quote unquote real job.
Right.
I'm satisfying that over here. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
A lot of people get self-employed or think self-employed. They don't look at those. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Those goals, you have to have those things, because if you don't do those, then you'll be out here just all fucked up.
Yeah, I was taking care of a family of 4.
Right.
You know what I mean? Shoot.
Yeah. So nobody's trying to hear that bullshit from now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 5.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do number 6. Number 6 is one that, you know, all the flossy, you know,
it
show off.
It ties into number 5, really.
Yeah, all the rappers, they don't want to hear about, but the number 6 lesson of being self-employed is that being or living below your means is a must.
This is sometimes why number 5 happens.
Right.
Because you have to.
Yeah. You have to. You have to live below your means. If I've been called cheap before. Mm-hmm. I've been called frugal before. Mm-hmm. But I haven't been called frugal or cheap by other people who were doing this. Mm-hmm. I've been called frugal and cheap by people who have the jobs, have the $300 car notes, $200 insurance, right. You know what I'm saying? The $1,000 couches, you know what I'm saying? The $1,500 apartments. Those people think I'm frugal, but to me, it's like I'm just living below my means. You know what I'm saying? Because it makes sense. Like, I don't have to go do a bunch of extra stuff because I'm not involved in that world that y'all are involved in. Right. And plus, the more money you spend, the more money you have to make. Right. And the more money you make, it's like the harder you got to hustle. And so to me, it's like always made sense to live below my means. And pretty much everybody I know who's self-employed or a full-time artist or self-employed person of any sort,
you have to,
lives below their means.
Because that's the only way you can survive.
Right.
If you live like you make the money you make, then you're going to be broke.
Yep.
You're going to be broke soon. That's why you got these motherfuckers out here living paycheck to paycheck. You can't live paycheck to paycheck when you're self-employed.
No.
There's no doing that.
No, because like you're saying, we have to plan 6 months, a year in advance. That's not paycheck to paycheck shit.
Hell no.
Because we don't even know exactly when the next paycheck is coming
Exactly.
And because we don't know, we have to really, really plan out and push hard. Whereas the person who works, they may have a quote unquote guaranteed check every week, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be planning out, saving, budgeting, doing the same things we're doing, because we have to do it because we don't know.
Right.
They know they have a check, and sometimes knowing that you have a check comes in makes you lazy.
Very much so.
You know, it makes you take things for granted. Like, oh yeah, I could just blow this check. I'll get another one next week.
Yeah.
We don't have that mentality when you're self-employed. There is no, I'll just get another one next week. You know what I mean? Like, you might get another one next week.
Yeah.
You just can't assume you're going to get another one
It's
next
not
week.
guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed.
You might have a slow week. So living below your means anything from like doing what you, and that should affect all aspects of your life, from personal to creative. It should mean like you should be creating your art in the most efficient, cost efficient way as possible. You should be living your life. A lifestyle should be the most cost efficient thing as possible. Don't assume that you can just get a expensive car note and still have, that won't impact your art. It will impact your art, because now that's another huge bill.
That takes away from it.
Now you got to hustle just to make that bill every month.
Right.
In addition to everything else. So like every decision I make as a self-employed person is impacted by it's influenced by the fact that I want to stay self-employed.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. And that's how people should make their decisions. when you are self-employed, you should make your decisions like, I still want to be doing this in a year.
Yeah.
I still want to be doing this in 5 years. So let me make some decisions that are going to put me in a position where I can do that, where I can reach that goal.
Straight up. And let's do number 7.
Word.
Number 7. And this is kind of what we talked about in the previous one. Number 7 lesson from self-employment is that you have to hustle harder.
Yeah.
No one hustles harder than a man who don't know where his next meal gonna come from. No
Bars. Bars.
Like take a look at let's look at the lion that's in the zoo, and let's look at the lion that's in the wild. The lion that's in the zoo, he might be the same weight, same size, same age, but he was raised in an environment where every day he wakes up and he could set his clock and a giant piece of meat will be thrown in that cage, and he'll walk over to it, lay down next to it, eat it, go take a nap, and wait for the next meal. And he's taken care of. But look at the lion who's in the wild. The lion who's in the wild actually has to go out. He can't wake up and just lay in one spot and wait on things to cross his path. They have to get up. The whole pack has to get up and just start hustling across the Serengeti. They just start walking.
True. It's true.
Till they see something. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's a pack of wildebeest. Oh, it's a pack of antelope, whatever. It's like, okay, which one can we take down? Right. You go over there, I'll go over here. You have to plot, plan, and really, really hustle.
And they still might not get it.
But every day they're hustling, and those motherfuckers are not starving to death because they've been out there so long that they have a hunting instinct that the animal that's in the cage could never get.
Ever.
Like if you were to let that animal who's in the cage free, he would be fucked up in the wild.
He'd be dead in 6 months.
6 months.
He'd
shit.
probably get
a week
eaten.
maybe.
Yeah.
The hyenas would get a hold of his ass in a week and have him out of there. But the one who's been in the wild, they understand everything. That's an analogy, but that's very comparable to what happens when you're self-employed. When I was working in corporate America, I didn't really exactly know how to hustle. And I don't mean hustle like running around, like scam hustle. I just mean like to position myself to make money later, to invest in things that pay off later, to constantly be thinking about, okay, what's next? Where can I go? How can I expand this? How is my time more valuably spent? Where is the true payoff of my energy? These are things you don't have to think about when you're in corporate America. You show up, they give you tasks, you do those tasks, you come home, you get paid. Out here is not exactly the same. So on one hand, you have no guarantees. But on the other hand, you have an upside that is much bigger than what you would have made in corporate America. So whereas in the cage, they hit that lion with a set amount of meat every day, enough to stop him from losing weight. In the Serengeti, you get to eat as much as you kill. And there is no limit other than your fat stomach. That's how being an independent artist is. The more creative you are being self-employed, the more opportunities you'll create to get paid. And there is no cap on what you make.
Yeah, because a lot of, I mean, even that jobs, people cash, I mean, they top out.
Yep.
You can only make so much money, and that really sucks. This is one of those reasons why I still have extra streams of income.
Right.
Because I know at some point I'm going to make as much money as they're going to allow me to make wherever I'm working, if I'm still working there. But also a lot of the instincts from being an independent artist and being self-employed, I utilize in my job, because this job ain't promised. They could fire me tomorrow.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to make sure I do everything that I can to be as valuable as I can, so they have no reason to.
That's dope.
And even give me more money.
That's dope. Yeah. And you learn that outside of that environment.
Exactly.
Which is something that I think can be an advantage to people who move from self-employed into that space.
Yeah.
Even if you spend 6 months, a year self-employed, it changes the way you look at the world.
Yeah, the way you look at money, the way you look at everything.
Everything. And that part is something I wish I could explain to people, but I think you literally have to be in it.
Yeah.
To know, to wake up and know, if I don't make anything, then none of these bills get paid and my lights will be off by the end of the month.
Straight up.
The cell phone will be off, everything. But some people panic and fold under that pressure.
Yeah.
Other people actually put something together and they fucking hustle and get rich.
Make it happen.
And so that's number 7.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
Super Duty Tough Work hoodies are finally available from weightless.net. Order yours while supplies last. Thanks for your support.
Boom.
We here, man.
In the place to be.
We here. Dropping jewels as usual. Man, where else do people get this?
You gotta go to Barnes and Noble to get some shit like that. Straight up though, you gotta go to the self-help section in Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, that's real.
It's so real.
We give it all to you in 1 hour.
Know what I mean?
1 hour or less, we give you a whole book's worth of information, like jewels that you can actually run with and apply.
Yeah.
So we're talking about lessons from self-employment. 10 lessons from self-employment. We've hit you with 7 so far. We got 4 more, 3/4 more, 3 and 1 bonus. So the number 8 lesson from self-employment is that work-life balance is harder.
Very much so.
I struggle with this as a person who's been self-employed for 17 years, living in a house by myself. My whole house is kind of different workspaces within it. I have my studio downstairs. I have an office. I make beats in my bedroom. I got a record player in there. Sometimes the love and the passion for my work causes me to not prioritize being social.
Yeah.
And put being social at the bottom of things. It's very easy to just say, oh man, I'll just go out another time.
Especially now that you're not drinking.
Yeah, it gets even. That's really what kicks it off, right? Because drinking and going out was how I created balance.
Yeah.
Now it's a little bit harder. And I don't think that's uncommon for anyone who's self-employed because of what we talked about on the last one. You have to make sure that your ducks are in a row before you party. So I can kick it and party if I know that things are going to be cool. But if I don't know that things are going to be cool, what the fuck am I partying about?
Right.
So
I could be working.
Right.
I need to be working.
Yeah. What am I doing with you fools? Y'all got a paycheck coming Friday.
Right.
I got to actually line some shit up. So make sure I get paid next week. And this is something that many people don't want to admit, but being self-employed, the nature of it, having your own business, it's almost like having a child to where you want it to do well. You fight for it, but you can become consumed and it can become unhealthy if you let it. So there's times when I leave the house, I try to leave the house once a day, even if I don't have to.
Yeah.
Even if that means I got to drive to a grocery store that's further than my neighborhood one, I'll do that because I understand that it's healthy to get out the house.
Yeah.
It's healthy to like, yeah, you go on tour for 2-3 months straight, but that's healthy for me.
Right.
Especially if I've been in the house for like 8-9 months straight creating. We have to find ways to be social because otherwise our work would be sacrificed, you know? And I think that is something that people don't want to talk about, but we have to put out there like, yo, if you're going to be self-employed, be prepared to be in situations where kicking it is going to not become a priority to you.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that you're taking time for yourself to kick it with friends, family, whatever, loved ones. Be social as far as you can just to keep that balance.
All right.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and having a family and being self-employed and having, especially when I was the breadwinner.
Yeah.
So I had to be focused on my art. And sometimes that was at the detriment of my relationship. You know, I mean, I was out on the road when one of my sons was born.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how serious it was. I had to be out there working, you know, to make sure that I could provide for my family. And sometimes you have to make those sacrifices, but you have to make sure you balance them out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's real. That's number 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 9, lesson of self-employment. And we spoke on this briefly, but number 9 lesson is that the phrase job security is misleading. A lot of people think they have job security, but they don't.
Because they can get you you expendable.
You are expendable. You have one person, as we mentioned, one person who, if they're not happy with you, they can fire you immediately. And you'll have to go through all this process to impress multiple people to get another opportunity to piss off one person or one business who can decide your position is no longer needed of no fault of your own, and you can get fired. We think of that as job security in America, but it's really not.
Right.
The person who has the most job security, I've learned, is the person who has the most bosses. If you've got 1,000 people, customers, people you provide a service to, that is a way safer position than having one.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned over the years because, as I mentioned, all the people who had the slick comments about me being self-employed have went through at least 9 to 10 jobs since I've been doing this. 9 or 10. And every time I see them, I'm like, yo, what's up with you? Where you? Oh, I don't even work there no more, man. I work up. Oh, damn. Okay, where you working at? Oh, man, I don't even work there, man. Man, I got out of there, man. Oh, man, I'm tired of changing jobs, man. I had to get out of there. That job wasn't shit. I'm over here now. Okay, yeah, what's been up with you? Oh, man, changing jobs again. Like, literally, they change jobs every other year and have to start again every other year. Whereas the 17 years I've put into this are cumulative.
Right.
They help me. They all go towards the end goal. Like, I've ascended to, because I have like hip hop tenure.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm grandfathered into this shit now. Like, you can't fire me. I can fire myself, I guess, by doing some whack shit. Right. But you can't really fire the kid. Like, you can't get me out of the paint. But that's job security. But we have to be very careful because to most motherfuckers, it's not. They think that, oh, well, if you don't have this and this and that person ain't doing this for you, and if you ain't going to this place every day, that's not job security. You don't even have a job. But my thoughts are, who has more job security? I thought security meant that you could keep that job for 15 years. Yeah. Because that's what our grandfathers did.
Yep.
Our fathers was working 20 years places.
Yep.
They was retiring. Like, yo, I've been here.
Pensions
and whatnot.
Yep.
That's job security.
Right.
I'm not quite sure that this new generation is even being offered the opportunity for job security that our parents and grandparents had.
Yeah.
These new businesses are not creating jobs that people are retiring from.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but self-employment is an option that helps you mitigate that risk. And you don't have to do it full time. You can approach it as a side hustle for your passion, still go to work and get that paycheck, but understand that, like you said, you keep your multiple streams of income. Yeah. You ain't stop rapping just because you got a job.
Right.
Like, no, these records is dropping.
Yeah.
I'm still getting that iTunes money. Yo, that Bandcamp page still popping.
Yep,
I need that. Yo, that vinyl coming, dog. Yep, it's coming. You ain't stop doing that shit just because you got a steady paycheck every week.
Right.
That is more job security than the person who's just like, this is it for me.
Yeah, because if I get fired tomorrow, I still got money coming in.
Right. You look at that bank. Oh, word. PayPal.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Yeah.
Bills paid.
Yeah.
Withdrawal.
Good.
Right. That is something that people have to look at, man. So if you're thinking about being self-employed, you're wondering what the shit is about, then like, definitely understand that shit.
Right.
Because it's a whole different ball game, man. Job security over here is different. And so, number 10 lesson. This is one I practice every day.
Big one.
Religiously. And the number 10 lesson of being self-employed is that reputation is the most important thing you have. This kind of goes along with the first thing I said about there's no checks and balances, and people work with you based on your value. One thing I've found out about this whole thing, learned through music, is that it's a small world.
Oh, very.
Like, no matter where we go, we know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody we know. And those people tell us things about other people if they're not good.
Right.
So the touring circuit is one example of this.
Heard some stories.
So many stories about rappers that are just awful people. And their desire to be awful people makes less people fuck with them, and their reputation is damaged. There is no place where that's more prevalent than when you're self-employed, because people typically only want to do business with you if there's value. But if you're not bringing value and your reputation is bad, you out of here.
Oh, yeah. You
can't be successful being self-employed, and you will quickly be unemployed and back to getting a regular job. So over the years, I've seen people who have had reputations that were good go bad. You know, people who had great affiliations and people would vouch for them to people just like, I don't know, man. Or people you work with somebody and someone taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, man, I don't know if you know or not, but X, Y, and Z about that person. This happens a lot out here.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've heard stories about rappers. Like, I remember hearing stories about like Kool Keith doing shit at shows.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know rappers who've gotten slapped up by promoters, beat up by security.
Yeah.
All kind of shit that's happened. I've seen it. I've heard about it. Get out of pocket and anything can happen.
Yeah, and not get invited back.
Get invited back. You know, like you're a stream of income that was steady for you can get cut off because you did somebody dirty. And that wasn't exactly, I didn't feel it like that in corporate America. In corporate America, it was just like, just report to your boss and do a good job. And you're cool. Yeah, you don't want to be an asshole.
Right.
But if being an asshole to someone else didn't necessarily mean you would get fired.
Exactly.
As long as it wasn't your boss, right?
Yeah, as long as you did your job and did it well, you could be an asshole to whoever.
Yes.
Because you still had value to your direct, supervisor.
Yep.
So as long as you still had value, your reputation among your peers in the job really doesn't matter.
Exactly. But out here, it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. And that's something that if you're thinking about this and you want to look around and say, okay, well, I'm a boss. I get to tell people what the fuck to do. I get to do anything I want to do. No, you don't.
Nah, bro.
No, you don't.
Nah. You're going to be unemployed or back employed by somebody else real quick.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to happen super fast, So that's number 10.
Yeah.
And it's the last one.
Bonus joint.
And this is one that's, common sense, but I'm going to say it anyway, but the number 10 lesson I've learned from being self-employed is that it's not for everybody.
Nah.
Some people are not cut out for this, and that's not a knock on anybody. Some people are cut out for this. Like, I was the kid who had the paper route, who was yearning to get a job at 15, 16, who was running around cutting grass. I was cut out for this.
Right.
Like my mom was an artist and, and self-employed selling art. And my dad had like a little hair care store for a minute in Mount Vernon. It's like little things that shaped and molded my consciousness as a kid about being self-employed.
Yeah.
They never told me, they never pushed me. In fact, they pushed me to do the opposite. But in a sense, I was cut out for this because my mind was open to it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And everybody is not cut out for this. Some people perform better when they know they have a check coming every Friday and it's going to be automatically deposited in their bank account and they don't have to worry about that. And that environment allows them to hustle harder. Some people like me hustle harder when they know that they're going to get a bigger chunk of the check because it's for themselves.
Right.
And they'll go above and beyond simply because they don't have to divide it with nobody else. They can get paid as soon as they do their work, and they're willing to take the risk up front.
Right.
I'll take the risk up front for back end, but make no mistake, everybody's not cut out like that.
Oh yeah.
And just like I can take a risk up front, that means sometimes I can do something I might not get paid at all for it, or it can be much lower than I thought. But then there's times I'll do that same thing and I'll get paid 3, 4, 5 times what I thought because I took the risk.
Yeah.
That to me makes it worth it. But don't get it fucked up. Everybody ain't cut out for this shit.
Nah.
And it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right to it's so like somebody gotta make the economy move. You know
Right,
what I mean?
right. Somebody gotta do.
It's okay to get a job.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and if this shit don't work out, I'll get a motherfucking regular job.
Right.
I don't got that much pride in being an artist. Yeah, I'll be a dope artist with a job.
Exactly.
Blueprint. We don't see him as much because he work 8 to 5.
Yeah.
He driving trucks or whatever the fuck this man
Right.
doing. He OTR out here.
Right.
But whatever the fuck it is, know who you are. Know your threshold for risk, so that you can make an informed decision. Because if you're not ready to take risks like that, if you're not ready to invest in yourself for a payoff later, you might not be cut out to be self-employed. But don't beat yourself up if you're not.
Yeah.
Keep your job as long as possible. Create a side hustle, whatever your interest or passion is, and follow that. And maybe one day, as long as you keep making the right moves in your side hustle will start to bubble and eventually compete with your main hustle. Then and only then do you have to make a decision, if at all. And in that sense, you'll know from doing it from so many years what the potential is, and if you can handle that risk.
Yeah. See, for me, I was cut out for it, but I had a family that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That didn't really understand the risk involved, especially having a wife, having children, because like same with you, like my grandmother had her own business. My aunt to this day has her own business. I have uncles. Like I grew up around entrepreneurs. So it was normal to see people working for themselves. So it wasn't no thing to me. Like that's what I wanted to do anyway. But having a family so early, to my wife and family, it's like, this is regular pay. This is security. Waiting for a check, wondering if you're going to get paid here, wondering when the tour is going to come. It was a little difficult.
Yeah.
So, and at certain points, my wife is like, you can do it as long as you can take care of it. But I would much rather feel, do this. And so I had to make a decision.
Right.
And of course I don't stop because I still have my multiple streams. You know what I mean?
Need
I ain't
those.
stupid.
Nah, you need those.
Yeah, need those. But, it is not for everybody. Some people, and it won't be for everybody in your family, depending on your situation.
That's real. That's so real. So yeah, like, and it takes all types, man. Like, so I just want to make sure through this episode that people don't romanticize being self-employed to where they just see, the people on TV, or they see like Gary Vaynerchuk and they're like, oh, that's what it's like. But they don't think about what steps happens in between here and there.
Right.
How committed you have to be and how much risk you have to be willing to take to live that lifestyle.
How much work you actually have to do.
Right. It's not less.
It's harder than a regular job.
Yeah.
You clock in and clock out at a regular job.
Right. You don't clock out at this. But the beauty is that you love the work,
right?
So you don't mind working extra, but don't get it fucked up like it's not extra work.
Yeah. Oh, it's work.
I don't have
10-12-hour days.
Come on,
easy,
no problem.
Yeah,
it's the norm.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, I'm up at like 9, 10. I go to sleep at 12:31.
Yeah,
I might take an hour 2-hour break. Yeah. That's
full day of work.
That's a full day. I'm not working 8 hours.
Right.
That's motherfucking 12, 14 hours. But I love it. But I hope this has clarified some things for people, man. I'm going to read back these lessons. Right. 10 lessons from self-employment. Lesson number 1, schedule is everything. Lesson number 2, multiple streams of income are a must. Lesson number 3, there are no checks and balances, no chain of command. Lesson number 4, value forms relationships, not assignments. Lesson number 5, people will not take you seriously. Lesson number 6, living below your means is a must. Lesson number 7, hustle harder. You will hustle harder. Lesson number 8, work-life balance is harder. Lesson number 9, the phrase job security is misleading. Lesson number 10, reputation is the most important thing you have. And lesson number 11, it's not for everybody.
Word.
I hope this has been helpful to everybody out there. Blueprint, that's Illogic. Super duty tough work. See y'all next week.
We out.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, super duty tough work.